Too often we hear negative stories about what's happening in America's schools, but I'm standing in the Mysa School here in the heart of Washington, D.C., a school that is on the absolute cutting edge of what education can be. And as people talk about different alternatives for their children, what's happening here is really unique. I'm joined with Siri Fiske. What is a micro school?
The point of the school is to meet kids where they are and to really challenge them. The focus is on mastering material and learning material as opposed to marching through curriculum. So we will target the skills or the concepts that kid needs to learn, not just say, okay, you're this age and it's October, therefore you're learning this material. We'll say, okay, where is this child in terms of their persuasive writing essay skills? And then we group that child with other kids, no matter what age they are, that need that exact skill. So we're grouping the kids according to what they need to know, not according to the calendar and what's always been done.
So everything in life is being customized right now. When you order a car, what you want to eat, everything is ultra customized, except for education. It seems we go through the same system that's been there. But what I'm hearing you say is that you may be in 4th grade, but you could be reading at a 6th grade level, but your math is at a 2nd grade level. And because of your structure, you're able to help meet those kids where they are.
Exactly. So at our school, there's really no such thing as behind. As long as students are moving along and learning, we can really drill down in specific areas where their strengths are, where they're passionate about, and know, as long as we're keeping track of what the student knows, what they don't know, not just what they've been taught, because oftentimes people teach things and they think students know it, but they don't. We make sure that they're moving. But if a child is really excited by a particular discipline, so if they're really excited by, let's say, biology, and they're in middle school. We had a group of kids last year who were doing middle school science, and it was an integrated science, and they were supposed to move from biology to physics. And they were so excited about the biology and that they were learning that they wanted to just keep learning it. So we started working with them on high school level standards. So as long as we're keeping track of that, and we know that at some point we have to get back to those physics or chemistry standards that they didn't do, they were allowed to sort of follow their passions. And so a group of 7th graders did about, a third of a year of high school biology, just because they were really excited about it, and we have the flexibility to follow that.
So I guess a critic would say, well, you're just letting kids do what they want to do. You're not actually teaching them rigor and discipline.
No, that's definitely not true. So they may be all over the place in where they are academically, but that's just how we are as humans. That's sort of naturally how we learn. I mean, everybody knows a 5-year-old who knows every single dinosaur name, right? Everybody knows an 8-year-old who's read all of the Harry Potter series, but those interests aren't grade level. Those interests aren't the only thing that's taught in that grade.
So I'm hearing is like what you're really teaching is a love of education, a love of knowledge, a love of reading, of exploring, and then, oh yeah, by the way, you're moving you up the grades as you follow those things.
They don't have to be on a certain page. They can take a deep dive. Kids can get excited about something, and we can sort of pivot and bring it in different ways. There's a lot of room for creativity and a lot of room for autonomy.
Kids are excited to go to school here. And I'm sure if someone is watching this, their child or their grandkid, they're hearing all the problems about them crying and throwing a tantrum. Why is it the kids like to come here?
Because they like learning. So we really treat them with a lot of respect, and I think they feel that, and that makes a big difference, that they're not coming here to just march along and be told what to do and where to follow, and that's not to say that it's a free-for-all by any way. We have classes, they're structured. There's, if a child is not working hard, we'll bring the parents in, we talk to them about it. But they have a lot more say in how it looks. So there's no reason that every single child needs to read the same book at the same time. If what they're doing is trying to write an essay, right?
But you could only get that if you have the environment where you can customize an education, correct?
Well, and if you really know the kids. When you see a spark and you see we have an 8-year-old right now who's totally into trains. All he wants to talk about is trains. So anytime the teacher can tweak an assignment to involve trains, they do. So on a math assignment that may be the same for 3 kids, his will involve a train somehow. So it's just those little things that don't involve adding a lot more to a teacher's plate, but mean a lot to a kid, right? So when he gets his work, if it's to figure out, his math problem with trains coming in and out of a station, and somebody else it has to do with how many kittens are for sale at the, at the pet shop. You know what I mean? It's the same math problem, but it's just tweaked a little for each kid.
So how long before you think every kid in America has an opportunity to go to a school like this?
Oh, not soon enough. It really depends on who gets behind it, right? And it really depends on how we fund it, and it really depends on what legitimacy is given.
What's your vision for this? Because I know, like, if you go to Silicon Valley and some other places, people are putting their kids in schools like this, and that's great for them. But is this a model that could go? Could every kid in this country have an option for a school?
I think they could. My goal would be for this model to be a part of the public education system, and we're using a lot of the constraints, the financial and the curricular constraints of the public schools, but we're just reconfiguring it in really different ways. And we're trying to keep our costs at the same cost of what it costs to educate a public school child. But there's a real trouble in big public schools because they want to adhere to standards and benchmarks that I think people don't understand that those are flexible, that you can still teach a child at a second grade level and a fourth grade level simultaneously, just using the same benchmarks. You just need to rearrange your schedule. That's all.
I think when most people think of a school, they think of a big building, the bells go off, and there's hundreds of kids milling around. And walking around this school, how many students do you have here?
There's 26 students at this
And how many teachers?
5 full-time.
That is a lot of almost one-on-one teaching. I mean, so if a kid gets behind, it's pretty hard to fall through the cracks here. What do you guys like about this school?
Freedom.
When I tell other kids about my school, they mostly get jealous because they like how much freedom we have at this school.